I'd like to show you a new tool that I created a few weeks ago. It seems like every time I get an account, a new account, I get there and they all have the same issue, and that is that they're understaffed. And so we need to add service providers. Kind of the first thing that comes up in conversation from them is like, how much does it cost? What's the cost associated or the investment associated with hiring a new service provider? And so I usually get a Excel spreadsheet out and just kind of do it down and dirty so that I can figure out the number, and I tell them the end number and they write it down and they move on, and that works well, except for I notice that every time they hire somebody, because they don't hire someone every week or every month, is that every time they hire somebody they have to know this number again, and they're asking me again. In fact, I had an account that I'd been to 13 times, and on the 13th visit we were about to hire somebody, and she said, now what was that number again? So a couple of weeks ago I thought, you know what, I'm tired of doing this over and over. I'm just going to make one permanent spreadsheet that'll look good and give me the information and give the salon owner the information that we all need. So I created this, and as you can see, I've personalized it. I put my logo for my salon in here, Salon 529, and I also put the name down at the bottom. Now, when I am creating this for one of my accounts, I personalize it with their logo. So I go to their website, grab their logo, and change their name, and I personalize it just for them, and save it on their Dropbox or however they store files. So I want to go through how it works and what goes on with it. First thing that you'll notice there are 4 gray fields, and each of these gray fields are the fields that you are going to need to make changes to. So the first one is the hourly wage. So just put in here what they make per hour, and then right below that put how many hours they are scheduled per week. So in this case I've got somebody full-time, or what we consider full-time, making $8 an hour. Now when you multiply these together, you come up with $256 is what their weekly wage is. But we can't stop there. We've got to add in the other costs that are associated with having a new employee, or any employee. And the first one is payroll taxes. Now these are the payroll taxes that are company matched. That's Medicare and Social Security. And by the way, those are calculated at 6.75%. It's the same no matter what state you're in, no matter what salon you're in. If you're in the United States, that number stays at 6.75. If there should ever be a change in those rates, you can edit this field and just change the 6.75 to whatever it needs to be. Otherwise, that won't need any changing. The next field that we're going to change is the product cost percentage. Now, if you've got a brand new salon, you may not have any idea yet. Their financials may not be set up in a way that show us what the product cost was for service, service sales. So I put in 9% just as an example. We know what the budget guidelines say, and so you can put whatever you need to in here. But I think 9% is pretty average to what I see out there before I help them. Okay, but change this to whatever you need, and when you change that number, it calculates this number as being 9% of the weekly pay. So this 2304, I just want to stop and point out that if a person works for us for a week and we pay them $256, and then we cover their $19.58 in payroll taxes, it's possible, unlikely but possible, that they have 0 guests, and therefore they would actually have 0 product cost. Now it's pretty unlikely, but this I think is a better way to go by giving you an estimated. This is the only thing in the calculation that's not exact. And so sometimes you'll have a little less than this product cost, and sometimes it's possible you'll have a little bit more, but I can tell you that by the time that you get to having more, they aren't going to be on hourly wage anymore, most likely. Okay, so when you total all that together, you get $298.62, which is their total weekly expense, or their total weekly payroll plus taxes and product costs. I then take that weekly expense and I multiply it by 4.333. Now 4.333, if we do that, brings us down to this number, which is the monthly wages and break-even number. Now, the reason I pick 4.333 is because that's how many weeks are actually in a month. And as you know, you'll run across people out in the world that either don't know that there's not 4 weeks in a month or just use 4 weeks because it's easy to do the math. And as most of you know that know me, I am not a rounder. It's hard for me to even say $1,294 on this field instead of $1,293.94. But I will tell you that that particular rounding from 4.333 to 4 is a killer. It's really bad math, and it will cause huge problems. A lot of mistakes are made in estimating things by using the 4-week calculation. So I know I'm going on and on about it, but I will just remind you, if your salon owner doesn't know how to remember, just reminder that there are 52 weeks in the year, and divide that by the 12 months there are in the year, and you will come up with the answer of 4.333. Okay, so that brings us to $1,293.94, and this, my friends, is break even for the salon owner. So in other words, if a service provider can do $1,294 in services, we have broken even on that service provider. We've covered all our possible costs. And I can tell you that that's a number that I like for them to know, because I did have an account that said, you know, I'm still losing a lot of money on my last employee. And I said, really, let's look at it. And we looked at it, and they were bringing in about $1,100 a month, which means that they were losing about $193 a month. They're still investing in that employee. It wasn't bad at all. One of the reasons I like to have the spreadsheet, one, is to know, of course, what it takes to cover the cost of having that service provider, but also I like to have some idea about when I can think about hiring the next one. Now, there's a couple of uses here. So, you know, I hear a lot of talk about how to know when to do it, but here's what I can tell you, is that if it was left up to the other employees, they would say, please don't hire anyone until I've built my book, until I have all the guests I need. But as most of us know, that doesn't exactly happen sometimes. So we do have to hire new people faster than what other service providers probably would want. From the owner's point of view, they're fearful about the investment, and they're going, can I really afford it? So here's my answer. And that is that if I take this $1,294 and I say, you know what, the service provider brought that much in services the last 3 months in a row, or an average of 3 months, I think it's safe to say, I mean, it's a fact that service provider is now breaking even for us and is no longer an expense. Now, they're not making us any money, but they're not costing us any money. So in my opinion, I'm free to move forward and at least consider the possibility of hiring my next service provider. And so I use that as a tool. The other thing I will say is this will also help you if you come up here to the hours per week and think about an associate that just has one shift, one new talent shift at 6 hours. Well, if I plug 6 hours in there and I look at the money, now I have a really good idea about when that associate, other than what they're learning from the educator, when they have earned another floor day. So here's what I mean. If I put, and I'll do it, I'll just put 6 hours in here. And let's see what happens. So now what we know is that person cost us, not very much, $242 a month. That's really low. And so costs us $242 a month. And so as long as they're doing $242, we're not losing money on them. But I'm actually going to come down here to this number and say, when they're doing $506 a month or close to that, I'm ready to give them another day. Okay, so let's come down to this area. This is the commission rate, which will be the fourth thing that you will enter. At 48% is what I used as an example. And here's the reason. Another thing that comes up that you might want to know is, how much does the service provider have to do before they make commission? And so this is a tool where you can use this to either show the service provider, or you can just figure out for the owner. In this case, in order to cover the cost of $1,294 at 48%, they will need to do $26.96.70 to make commission. Now, here's the math behind this. It's 48% of this number is $12.93, except for I've added $1. So this $26.96 is actually $1 more than is needed. In other words, it will allow them to make commission. So we've got a lot of tools there. We've got the ability to figure out what break-even is. We've got the ability to figure out when they will make commission, and then the possibility of when to use this as a tool to decide when it's time to add another service provider. Thanks.